Carlos Sainz has started the next phase of his Formula 1 career with his first test for Williams in Abu Dhabi, and you wouldn't blame him for wondering exactly what he's done to deserve dropping down the grid from a team that just missed out on the Constructors' Championship to one that finished second last. His situation is the great injustice of the 2025 driver market, and while that's a result of Lewis Hamilton signing for Ferrari and taking his place, that's not what makes it so unfortunate for Sainz. After all, Sainz himself accepts that he can't complain about being replaced by a 7-times world champion. But Sainz can feel hard done by, given there was no opportunity for him at any of F1's other top teams. Mercedes did have an interest, but Sainz was only ever a fallback option if Kimi Antonelli was not deemed ready. While there was also the long-shot pursuit of Max Verstappen, Wolff said he made up his mind on Antonelli 5 minutes after he learned Hamilton was leaving. Sainz would have been the ideal candidate to solve Red Bull's second driver problem. However, despite Verstappen himself having no problem with this, Red Bull was wary of bringing in a teammate who could in any way unsettle its star. McLaren had no room given it has Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri under long-term contracts, while Sainz was also locked out of Aston Martin given its commitment to Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll's untouchable position. Inevitably, this meant he had to look elsewhere. And while the Audi project was at one stage the obvious destination, given he was made its top target, Sauber's struggles meant Sainz wasn't convinced. There was also a flirtation with Alpine, tempted by the 2026 change to Mercedes customer engines, but in the end, Williams was Sainz's choice. That's a huge boost for Williams, doubly so given it also brought the newly confirmed sponsorship deal from Spanish multinational bank Santander with it. Team principal James Vowles has described the combination of Sainz and Alex Albon as the best driver lineup on the grid. That's a stretch from Vowles, but his team unquestionably has the strongest driver lineup outside the big four teams, and only Ferrari with the combination of Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, and McLaren with Norris and Piastri have unequivocally the stronger lineups across the two cars. The quality of Sainz's contribution to Ferrari over the past 4 years means there's no doubt he would have been given a new contract to stay with the team in 2025 and beyond, but for Hamilton's signing. By every performance metric, he has been the second best of the two Ferrari drivers across the 4 seasons, therefore if you were going to drop one, it's inevitable it would be Sainz. However, while he's behind roughly 2/3 of the time in terms of performance metrics, he's contributed a good amount of points to the Ferrari cause and also produced some outstanding performances. That's made him the ideal teammate to Leclerc. There are certain circumstances, for example when the car is front limited, or on weekends with unusual conditions like Mexico in 2024 where he dominated, where he has the advantage. But pace-wise, Leclerc has been quicker in qualifying every year, although that gap was the smallest it has been this season at just 37 thousandths of a second on average, where a fair comparison can be made. Leclerc has often been stronger in race trim as well, but Sainz has always been close. That's what made him such a dependable performer for Ferrari. He rightly describes himself as very proud of his Ferrari stint and the part he's played in it fighting for world championships again. That's why Sainz argues he now belongs at the front fighting for wins, podiums and top 5 finishes in F1. But those days are, for now, in the past for Sainz, given it's going to be a while before his new team is in a position to fight for such results on merit. He can leave Ferrari with his head held high, having racked up the 9th most World Championship race starts for the Scuderia. Now, it's all about building for the future with Williams. It was Sainz's service to Ferrari, combined with the fact that Williams is not a threat to it, for now at least, that meant he was granted permission to drive for the team before the end of his contract. He admitted to doing everything he could to capture the feeling of driving the Ferrari SF24 during the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix to ensure he had the best possible comparison for when he drove the Williams. His first taste of the Williams came the day after the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix around the Yas Marina circuit. Williams still had one of its 2 filming days for the season available. That allowed him to do 200 kilometres of running using Pirelli's Academy spec tyres. Having banked that experience, he then drove the Williams tyre test car using the 2025 Pirellis in Abu Dhabi on Thursday, and he was soon on top of the timesheet, ending the day second fastest with 146 laps banked. While the lap time was not significant in itself given this is a meaningless test day, it at least shows that he had adapted well to the Williams. And in terms of the rolling start, it would have been immensely valuable. Sainz, wearing plain white overalls and keeping a low profile in deference to current employer Ferrari, will have absorbed a huge amount of information and fed plenty back to Williams. This will be invaluable in ensuring both team and driver are as well integrated as they can be by the start of next season, and knowing Sainz, he will already have made a meaningful contribution to his team. It also at least gives him one advantage over the man who replaced him, given Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari adventure won't start until 2025 begins, and he's able to begin putting in miles in a 2023 specification Ferrari in January. You might imagine that Sainz is resigned to a season or two treading water at Williams while waiting for a better opportunity to come along. But that's not the case. Firstly, while the results will be worse, he needs to prove to any other potential employers that he's still performing at a high level, so he can't afford to have that attitude even if he wanted to. Secondly, and more importantly, Sainz is not that kind of character. While certainly frustrated not to be with a front runner, one of the reasons he took so long to decide which team to sign for was because he needed to be sure it was one he could build for the future with. He underlined that after finishing second in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, saying the media underestimates just how motivated and determined he is. This is good news for Williams, given Sainz has proved time and again in his F1 career that he's not only a very quick driver, but also one who makes a big contribution off track. He's done that at all the teams he's driven for before, playing a part in the rise of McLaren, who he raced for in 2019 and 20, and Ferrari, after making a big contribution at Renault and Toro Rosso before that. His technical input is also of great value, which justifies his argument that one of his main qualities is to help a team to improve and what direction it needs to go in to do that. And Williams is going to need plenty of that input as it works to climb the grid. Since being taken over by New York investment firm Doralton Capital in 2020, significant cash has been invested in the team, and it's on a path that is expected to take it to the front in the long term. While that long-term horizon might be a little more distant than 30-year-old Sainz would like, it is making tangible gains. He's optimistic that after a difficult 2025, the new regulations the year after do offer an opportunity for a leap forward. That's why he considers his first Williams season a learning year. That attitude will stand Sainz in good stead. Williams isn't the place he would have chosen to move to in an ideal world, but now he's signed up and started work there, he can be relied upon to give it his all. And as Sainz has highlighted, he has spent 10 seasons racing in F1, and he's only been in a team able to win races in the last 3 of them. And given Red Bull's dominance in 2023, broken only by Sainz's Singapore victory, he doesn't even count that as a proper winning year. Sainz heads into the new phase of his career with his eyes open. He won't expect miracles and knows he's got a huge amount of work to do before he can aspire to win again. He won't expect an easy journey and will do everything he can to accelerate it, making him a potent weapon for Williams, which needs all the help it can get after a fraught season in which it has slipped from 7th in the Constructors' Championship in 2023 to 9th and run up an alarming repair bill. Sainz will make the Williams move work for him the only way he knows how, by working hard, pushing the team on, and producing his best work on track. Even if a great performance that might have yielded a win for Ferrari this year will probably only mean a minor points finish next year. He deserves better, but that isn't going to stop Sainz making a success of his enforced Williams move.